My uncle and aunt kicked me out on Christmas Eve because I refused to pay for a cruise they wanted. A month later, they called me, desperate, after my cousin Ethan lost $20,000 in a shady poker game. "This is how you repay us for taking you in," they said. I told them I had stopped covering their bills and left, but they just laughed. A month earlier, Christmas was supposed to be about family and togetherness. Instead, my uncle stared at me across the dinner table and said, "You need to leave." I froze, my fork still in my hand. What? My aunt wouldn't meet my eyes. My younger cousins kept their heads down, pretending not to hear. But my uncle? He looked calm, like he'd already made up his mind. "This is our gratitude for all the little help you gave us," he said, shaking his head. I let out a nervous laugh, waiting for him to say it was a joke. "What the hell are you talking about?" He leaned back in his chair. "You've been staying here for months, and we haven't seen much from you." I stared at him. "Are you serious?" I had been living with them for a few months, but I wasn't just crashing on their couch for free. I had a full-time job. I bought groceries for the entire house. I covered fast food when no one felt like cooking. I even paid for my younger cousin's school internet bills and occasionally helped my uncle with gas money and car repairs when he complained about being short on cash. I hadn't expected a thank you, but being told I wasn't contributing at all? That was insulting. "I've paid for things." I snapped. "Not enough," my uncle interrupted. "You're an adult. You should be taking care of yourself." And that's when I realized it. It wasn't just about me staying at their house. This was about the conversation we had last week. They had asked me to pay for a luxury cruise, flights, hotel, everything. Not just for them, but for the whole family. At first, I thought it was a joke. When I realized it wasn't, I said no. My uncle's face darkened, and my aunt looked deeply offended, like I had personally insulted her. After that, they became cold. And now? They were kicking me out. I took a slow breath. "So this is about the cruise, huh?" My aunt folded her arms. "Family supports each other, Nathan." I let out a bitter laugh. "Yeah? And what exactly have you done to support me?" My uncle slammed his hand on the table. "Enough. If you're not willing to help, then leave." I shook my head. "Fine. I'll go." I stood up and looked them both in the eye. "And I'm done paying for everything. No more groceries. No more bills. No more help." My uncle smirked. "Go ahead. Let's see how long you last." I glanced at my younger cousins. They wouldn't even look at me. That night, I packed my things and left. I found a cheap apartment in the next town over. It wasn't great, but it was mine. And for a whole month, I didn't hear from them. Not a single call. Not a single text. I assumed they had written me off, and I was fine with that. Until one night, the phone rang. It was my aunt. At first, I thought about ignoring it. But something felt off. I sighed and answered. "Hello?" There was a pause. Then, her voice came through, shaky and quiet. "Nathan, we need your help." I almost laughed. "Oh, now you need my help? What, did your vacation plans fall through?" She hesitated. "It's Ethan." I sat up straight. "What about him?" She paused again. I could hear my uncle shouting in the background. Then she said the words that made my stomach drop. "He lost $20,000. I ran a hand over my face. "You're joking." "He was gambling," she admitted. I exhaled sharply. Ethan was barely old enough to drink, let alone gamble away 20 grand. Where the hell did he even get that kind of money? She hesitated. "He borrowed it." I closed my eyes. "Jesus Christ." She continued, "And now he owes it all back. And we don't have it, Nathan. We're out of money." I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. A month ago, they had laughed in my face when I told them I was done paying for everything. Now, they were begging. I should have told them it wasn't my problem. But despite everything, I couldn't. Ethan might have been reckless, but he was still my cousin. And if he borrowed that much money, it wasn't from a bank. This was serious. I took a slow breath. "I'm coming over." The drive back felt surreal. A month ago, they had kicked me out with nothing. Now, I was their last hope. When I walked in, the house felt different. Ethan was hunched over on the couch, his face ashen. My uncle stood near the dining table, his arms crossed, looking furious. "All right," I said. "Someone tell me exactly what happened." Ethan mumbled something, avoiding my eyes. My uncle scoffed. "Your cousin was an idiot, that's what happened." I looked at Ethan. "How do you accidentally lose 20 grand? He swallowed hard. "It started small. Just a couple hundred. Then I won big. So I kept going." He finally met my eyes. "And then I lost everything." "But you didn't even have that kind of money to lose," I snapped. "Who gave it to you?" Ethan hesitated. My uncle answered. "He took out a loan." Something about the way he said it made my stomach turn. "Not a bank loan," my aunt added softly. I clenched my jaw. "So, a loan shark?" Silence. I exhaled. "When is he supposed to pay it back?" "End of the week," my uncle muttered. I took it all in. A month ago, they had called me a loser and thrown me out. Now, they were desperate. And I was their only option. I could have walked away. But I didn't. "I'll cover half," I said. "That's all I can do." And I had no idea how much I would regret it. I wired them $10,000 that night. My aunt actually started crying. My uncle muttered a half-hearted thanks but still refused to look me in the eye. "And Ethan?" He just nodded, his face pale, still staring at the floor. I didn't stay long. Before I left, I made it very clear, this was a loan, not a gift. Ethan had to pay me back. No excuses. No delays. He mumbled, "I will." I didn't believe him. But I wanted to. As I drove back to my apartment, I told myself I had done the right thing. Not for my uncle and aunt, they could rot for all I cared. I did this for Ethan. Because if he owed money to the wrong people, this wasn't just about teaching him a lesson. This was his life on the line. Weeks passed. No payments. No updates. No calls. Nothing. At first, I tried to be patient. Maybe Ethan was still getting back on his feet. Maybe he needed time. But then, after a month, I couldn't take it anymore. I called him. He picked up after a few rings. "Hey, Nathan." I skipped the small talk. "Where's my money?" Silence. Then he sighed. I don't have it yet." I clenched my jaw. "You said you'd pay me back." "I will," he blurted out quickly. "I just need more time." I scoffed. "More time? Ethan, it's been a month. You haven't even sent me $20. Silence again. I could hear video game sounds in the background. I exhaled slowly. "You're not even working, are you?" "No, I am," he lied, way too fast. "It's just, things have been hard, okay?" I laughed bitterly. "Yeah? Well, things are about to get a lot harder if you don't start paying me back." More silence. "Whatever," I muttered. "Figure it out." And I hung up. A week passed. Still nothing. So I decided to call my uncle instead. If they had the money to bail Ethan out, surely they could help him pay me back, right? He answered on the third ring. "What do you want?" I went straight to the point. "I need to talk about Ethan's debt." A long, annoyed sigh. "What about it?" "He hasn't paid me a single dime." A pause. Then, with a smug tone, he said, "So?" I blinked. "So?" I gave him $10,000. That wasn't a gift. It was a loan. My uncle actually laughed. "Well, that's your problem." I gripped my phone tighter. "Excuse me?" "You chose to help him," he said, like I was an idiot. "That's on you. Don't come crying to us about it." I felt my blood boil. "You literally kicked me out saying family supports each other. But now that I need help, that doesn't apply." He let out a dry chuckle. "That's life. Sucks, doesn't it?" I clenched my jaw. I had bailed them out. And now? They were throwing me away, again. I took a slow, deep breath. Got it, I said coldly. Enjoy your life. And I hung up. But as I stared at my phone, something clicked in my mind. I wasn't about to let this go. I spent the next few days thinking. If Ethan wasn't going to pay me back, and my uncle didn't care, I needed another way to get my money. And then it hit me. Something so simple, I couldn't believe I hadn't thought of it earlier. I still had access to their Wi-Fi and cable accounts. Why? Because I had set them up when I lived there. And the bills? They were still in my name. Because I had always been the one paying for them. And guess what? They never updated the billing information after I left. So I logged in. And I canceled everything. Internet? Gone. Cable? Cut off. Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus? All disabled. They were officially off the grid. And then? I sat back and waited. Sure enough, the next morning, my aunt called. Nathan, she hissed. The internet is down. I played dumb. Huh. That's weird. Can you fix it? Your cousin has schoolwork, and we can't even watch TV, asterisk. I smiled. Oh, I already know what happened. What? I canceled it. Silence. You what? Yeah, I said casually. I canceled everything. The Wi-Fi, the cable, the streaming services. All gone. Nathan, she stammered. Why would you do that? I leaned back in my chair. I don't know. Maybe because I was still paying for it. But your cousin needs it for school. Then maybe, I said slowly, you should pay for it yourself. I heard my uncle's angry voice in the background. What's going on? Nathan canceled everything. His response? Good. We don't need him anyway. I laughed. Yeah? Let's see how long you last without Wi-Fi. My uncle grabbed the phone. Listen, you little. Click. I hung up. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. A few nights later, I got home from work. Something felt off. I always locked my door. Always. But tonight? It was unlocked. My stomach twisted as I slowly pushed it open. And then I saw it. My apartment was trashed. Cushions thrown everywhere. My laptop? Gone. My TV? Missing. My drawers? Pulled open, clothes tossed all over the floor. I knew who did this. This wasn't a random robbery. This was them. My own family had broken into my home. And that was the moment I decided. This wasn't over. This was war. I stood in the middle of my wrecked apartment, my pulse hammering in my ears. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was personal. I could feel my blood boiling as I took in the destruction. My TV? Gone. My laptop? Gone. Drawers yanked open. Clothes thrown everywhere. I took a slow, deep breath. And then I pulled out my phone. I called the cops. When the officer arrived, he glanced around and let out a low whistle. Damn. Someone really tore this place apart. He pulled out his notepad. Any suspects? I didn't even hesitate. My uncle, my aunt, and my cousin Ethan. The officer raised an eyebrow. Your family? Yeah. I laid everything out, the debt, the kicked out on Christmas, the loan I gave them, and how I cut off their Wi-Fi when they refused to pay me back. Then I looked him in the eye and said, they broke in and stole from me. He took a few notes, then asked the big question. Do you want to press charges? I paused. Not because I wasn't sure, but because this was serious. If I went through with this, it wouldn't just be a family dispute anymore. It would be real. But then I thought about it. They assumed I'd do nothing. They thought they could walk all over me, just like always. I clenched my jaw. Yes. The next day, the police showed up at my uncle's house. I wasn't there, but I got a call from my aunt shortly after. Nathan, she screamed. What did you do? I stayed calm. I did what I should have done a long time ago. You called the cops on your own family? I laughed coldly. Oh, so when I help you, I'm family. But when you rob me, I'm supposed to let it go? It wasn't robbery, she shouted. The cops disagree. She gasped. Nathan, please. Just drop the charges. I exhaled slowly. No. Her voice cracked. What? I said no. Silence. Then she whispered in disbelief, are you really going to do this to us? I clenched my jaw. No, Aunt Lisa. You did this to yourself. And I hung up. The cops found my TV and laptop at a pawn shop, sold under Ethan's name. That was all they needed. Ethan was arrested for burglary. My uncle and aunt were charged as accomplices. They didn't get jail time, just probation, but now? They had a criminal record. And the real punishment? Came when my grandparents found out. I don't know who told them, probably one of my aunts, but my grandfather called me the next day. His voice was cold. Nathan, he said, his words slow and deliberate. Is it true? Did your uncle and Ethan steal from you? Yes, I said. It's true. A long pause. Then, in a voice filled with quiet rage, he said, they will regret this. I don't know exactly what my grandparents did. But suddenly, all financial support was cut off. No more help with rent. No more bailing them out. No more covering up their mistakes. My uncle had always relied on my grandparents to catch him when he fell. Now, he was on his own. And the cherry on top? My grandparents paid me back every cent that Ethan owed me. They told me they didn't want me to carry that burden. That I had done more than enough. And they made one thing very clear. They weren't doing this for my uncle or Ethan. They were doing it because I was the only one who did the right thing. I never spoke to my uncle or Ethan again. A few months later, Ethan sent me a text. A half-hearted apology. Probably because my aunt forced him to. I didn't respond. Because after everything, I had finally realized something. I had spent years trying to help people who would never help me in return. And I was done. I wasn't their safety net anymore. I wasn't their ATM. I wasn't their family. Not anymore. And if they got into trouble again, they could figure it out on their own. Because I was finally free. Thank you for watching the video, like it if you watched the video to the end and don't forget to subscribe. Have a nice day.